folks, before I really get going today, I want to give you an update on some of my recent brews. 2 out of the last 3 brew days have turned out with less than desirable results. It's a little high. So bad that I had to pour out 2 of my beers. 2 full kegs. And I hate doing that. I don't do it very often. I will suffer through an unpleasant beer or a less than desirable beer, but these were so bad that there was no drinking them. It was a sour, funky taste, and not in a good way. The first one was the best bitter that I made. The second one was the Imperial Stout, and that turned out just fine. I love that beer. I'm going to hate when that keg kicks. The third beer that came out rancid was the strong bitter I just recently made. And that's when the light bulb went off. With those 2 beers, the bitters, I had repitched a yeast that I had used previously. First 2 times that I reused it, I reused it within a week to 10 days of harvesting, and it worked out fine. These last 2 bitters that went sour on me, those mason jars sat in the fridge for a month, maybe a little more, before I got around to using them. And that is what I believe the problem was. So, with fresh yeast on hand and some grains I bought from Hopcraft Supply Company in Saginaw, it's brew day. Cold beer. And what I'm making today is a Bell's Two-Hearted Ale clone. I saw this recipe on Basic Brewing Video. They got it from the American Homebrewers Association recipe database. I believe, if I remember correctly, they said that that recipe was submitted by somebody at Bell's. I can tell at Basic Brewing when they really like a recipe. Sometimes they are polite and you can read that in their faces, but when they really like something, it's like, oh wow. And that's what they did with this recipe. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try this. I've tried making clones before with half-assed success, but this I have high hopes for. So the grain bill for Bell's Two-Hearted Ale, my version, is 10.5 pounds of Maris Otter. I've rounded that up from 10.44. 1 pound 12 ounces of Vienna malt, 1 pound 2 ounces of caramel crystal 20 Lovibond, and 7 ounces of Carapils. Now the hop schedule is just a crap ton of Centennial hops. You got 1 ounce at 60 minutes, a half ounce at 45 minutes into the boil, another half ounce at 30, another whole ounce at 15 minutes left in the boil, and another half ounce at flame out. Dry hopping is 1 ounce of Cascade and another ounce of Centennial. Now today I'm mashing at 152 degrees, right in the middle-ish of the single infusion mash range. And my strike temperature will be about 161. Remember that my grain temperature, when I stuck a probe in it earlier today, was 66 degrees. And when I add that 66 degree grain, all 12, 13 pounds of it, into water, that grain is going to absorb some of the heat out of that water. So my strike temperature needs to be higher than my mash temperature. And to figure that out, I've got Beersmith software. But there are calculators online that you can use, and experience is also a good teacher as well. So I believe my strike water is at 161, so it's time to dough in and see if I hit my 152 degree mash. All right, no overhead shots today. It's a little bit too much of a pain in the ass to set up. One of these days, I'll get a GoPro or something that I can just clip onto the rafters. You know what? I'm going to turn the pump off. All right. Just a quick stir. Boy, Maris Otter in the mash smells like breakfast cereal to me. I haven't used Maris Otter in quite a while because it's pretty gosh darn expensive. Get this well stirred up and mixed. Set up my little sparge gizmo. Turn the pump back on, and that'll activate the controller and show me the temperature of the mash. Or I could just measure it manually, I guess. Wouldn't that be something? Okay. All right, my controller on the wall is telling me 151. It's bouncing between 151 and 152. And my digital pen is saying 151 point something or other, depending on where I put it. So the controller on the wall was pretty accurate at 151 to 152. So I didn't do too bad on hitting the mash. That's always fun. And we'll let it sit for 1 hour. All right, the 1 hour mash is over, and I'm beginning to sparge. And again, I'm fly sparging. I'm taking water out of the hot liquor tank, pumping it up through the top of the mash tun, where the sparge arm sprinkles that water evenly over the top of the grain bed. It'll trickle down, and then I'm pumping the sweet wort from the bottom of the mash tun through the pump and into the boil kettle. And got a nice golden amber color. That's what I was after. And I'll continue to sparge as long as it takes to get my pre-boil volume, which is just under 9 gallons, 8.8 gallons. All right, here's some voodoo magic that I've been wanting to show you for some time, but it happened so quickly I don't often get it on film. Obviously, the boil has begun, but this is called Firm Cap S. Just a couple of drops. The instructions say 2 drops per gallon, but just 4 drops in almost 9 gallons does that. Is that amazing or what?
Groovy.
Hey, do you remember not long ago I mentioned that my counterflow chiller may not be long for this world? Well, the day has come. I noticed some unusual flex in one of the top coils, and I think the copper tube inside had snapped or was getting very weak. So I don't trust it anymore. I pitched it, and bang a gong, the teeth of the Hydra are upon me. And if you get that reference, you get bonus points. This is the Jaded Brewing Hydra Chiller. And if I don't break my overhead light, it fits in between the Blickman boil coil just perfectly. The question is, how does it do with the hop spider? Okay, that works. And that tone that you heard on my phone means that it's time for another 1 ounce of Centennial hops. And I almost forgot that tone on my phone also meant that it's time to add a Horflock tablet. I don't know if you need to crush them up or not, but I do. All right, the maiden voyage of the Hydra Immersion Chiller is underway. I turned the heat off, turned the water on. I made sure that I put thread tape on both fittings before I started. No leaks, that's a good thing. I've got my hoses set up to run wort out of the pump, or out of the kettle, through the pump and into my whirlpool arm. So I'm getting a good whirlpool. And yeah, the only thing I wish I had done and will do in the future is get some quick disconnects for both of these, just to make life a little easier. And also, I'm thinking of maybe fitting a dial thermometer somewhere in here so that I can tell how chilled my wort is getting. But that's for the future. All right, I did not time this when I started chilling, but all I've done since I turned the camera off was scoop the grains out of my mash tun. So it can't have been more than 10 minutes. And with my ThermaPen, I'm getting a temperature of 63.5 degrees, 62.9. That is fast. It took 15 to 20 minutes, a good 20 minutes or more for the counterflow to get even close to that low. This is awesome. I can turn this on. I am done chilling. All right, brew day's over, and here's the results. The numbers, unadulterated. We're going to skip over pH. I've got a pH meter, but I still haven't dived into that aspect of brewing. Mash efficiency, my estimated post-mash gravity was 1052. My actual post-mash gravity was 1048. That gave me a mash efficiency of 82.9%. 8.82 volumes into the boil kettle, that's about what I got. Batch size into the fermenter, 6 gallons, that's exactly what I got. My original gravity was supposed to be 1068, and I measured 1060 with the refractometer. I'm going to go down and put my tilt hydrometer into the fermenter and compare the two, but I'm going to be a little light on alcohol by volume by about half a percentage. Instead of 7% ABV, I'm going to get 6.5 ABV. And, you know, that's nothing to sneeze at. That's a good beer. So, brew day is over. Did I get any on ya?